It is my pleasure to be here, second time as a speaker, third time as an attendee. My name is Vuxen. I work for .me, and today I'll be talking about the impact of pandemic on domain name industry, but seen through the eyes of .me registry. Now, let me just share the screen quickly with you guys. Okay. So the title is The Year Set of Auto Renew, which is just a reminder of 2020 and the hellish nightmare that we had that slowly transitioned into 2021. But not everything was that bad, and we'll try to focus on those things that were not bad, make some predictions, and hopefully we'll have some time for questions afterwards. Okay, first thing first, what's up with .me, who we are and what we do. .me is the country code domain name for Montenegro, and .me for Montenegro is the same thing as .tr for Turkey, .de for Germany, .es for Spain. At this very moment, we have 1.1 million domain names. We are strictly B2B, and we work with 400 partners, and we have customers all around the globe. .me is a domain name that adds personal flavor to your brand, product, and service, and we're here to make sure that it makes something that is virtual, less distant, and more appealing to the end user. Now let's dive into things that happened in 2020. So what we had in 2020 was almost unprecedented domain growth, and this domain growth was 1.1% year over year. Why did this happen? As I'm pretty sure that most of you heard and know, what happened in 2020 was 5 years of digitalization crammed into one. So whoever had brick and mortar business there, they simply had to go online, not to improve their business, but just to stay in the business. And as a result, there was growth in domain name registration. Now you might think that this growth is not a lot. When you take a look, I mean, 1.1%. But it's important to note that this growth is distributed along different types of TLDs. Now let's go further. CC-TLDs, or country code domain names, they grew by 0.8%. CC-TLDs are actually 34% of the total domain name registrations. However, in Europe, they're actually 61%. So CC-TLDs in Europe had bigger growth than in the rest of the world. For instance, .de in Germany grew by 2.4%. .nl in Netherlands, they grew by 3.5%. And then on the other hand, in some other regions like Central America or North America, especially in the US, the perception of CC-TLD is a little bit different, and they're basically substituted by Gtlbs. So in the United States, you would see much more of .com, much less of .us. And here, the growth didn't happen at that rate. Now we move on to Gtlbs, which are represented on this slide generally by Verisign, which is the backend for .com and .net. And Verisign grew by 4%, and that is a very good representation of the Gtlb trend, because Gtlbs represent about 59% of the total domain name registration market, and Verisign itself is somewhere around 85%. And if there is a growth trend in Verisign, that's a good indication where the domain name industry is going. Now moving on to new Gtlbs. Now new Gtlbs are the new strings that were introduced back in 2013, and you probably noticed them around. I mean, they've been at CloudTalk a lot. These are domain names like Redix's, .online, .website, like, I don't know, .agency by Donuts, like .club, and so on. Now, the new Gtlbs actually decreased by 11.2%. And I mean, this decrease, at least in my opinion, comes from some very aggressive marketing and even pricing strategies employed by new Gtlbs that were implemented over several years. Even bigger indication of volatility of new Gtlb market is the fact that in 2019, they actually grew by 20%. So you had growth of 20%, then decrease of 11.2%. And then finally, our registry, .me grew by 4.8%, which is bigger growth than in 2019 and in 2018. This is probably the biggest growth for the past several years. And again, this is indication, at least for us, that SMBs are looking to send more personalized messages to their end customers, and that individuals who want to go online are looking to establish more personal sites, whether those are websites, blogs, portfolio sites, solopreneur sites. Moving on, mergers and acquisitions. Someone may also argue that 2020 was the year of mergers and acquisitions. And the biggest winner of that was obviously GoDaddy. They acquired BrandSite, Newstar, and Uniregistrar's registrar business. If you think a little bit about that, GoDaddy really went into many different areas of the market. So with the acquisition of BrandSite, actually went into corporate, because BrandSite was the company that provided domain management solutions for big companies. Probably the most interesting acquisition is the one of Newstar. Now, this is vertical acquisition because GoDaddy acquired the registry. For those of you who might not know, Newstar is the registry backend provider, and they're backending with some of the very well-known extensions like .co, .biz, .nyc, which stands for New York City, .us as well. So GoDaddy acquired the registry provider, and they also moved into registry business. Eventually, they renamed it GoDaddy Registry. And then in the end, they acquired Uniregistrar's marketplace, Uniregistrar's domain portfolio, which consisted about tens of thousands premium domain names, as well as their registrar business. And this is, again, a clear statement that they would also continue to cater for the market for domain name investors. The second interesting acquisition was that of Web.com, which was acquired by Endurance Group. Now, both of these groups, Endurance and Web.com, are big hosting groups. Endurance has some 5 million users, Web.com around 3 million users. And in addition to hosting, they provide other services that you need to establish and optimize your web presence. So there are website builders, there are domain names, emails, SSL, other ancillary products. But what's interesting here is that this acquisition would put them in top 5 hosters in the world. And I'll just move here to the next slide, just so as you guys see the brands that are now under one umbrella, under Newfold Digital, which is the new brand for both of the groups. And Endurance's flagship brands here would be HostGator, Bluehost, Logicboxes here, and then Web.com would be obviously Web.com, Register.com, and then Network Solutions. But here it would be very interesting to see how would this play out in the end, because although there was consolidation among the groups, none of these brands was really consolidated. They remain separate brands. It will be interesting to see whether they will gain new customers or lose customers to maybe bigger groups like GoDaddy. And then in the end, Donuts acquired Affiliates. Donuts is the registry service provider. Affiliates is the registry service provider. Both of them are big companies, established companies in the market. Affiliates is actually backend provider for our extension. And when I say Donuts acquired Affiliates, this is what you may think. Okay, this is what you may think, but this is what actually happened. So we had one big registry of 200 plus extensions acquire another big registry. And this puts this new company, well, not new company, this puts Donuts on top of the registry service provider when it comes to the number of strings. And it also puts them on the second place when it comes to the number of domains. I think they have 20 plus million domain names under management right now. And lastly, we'll talk a little bit about premium domains. I was actually trying to come up with a good definition of a premium domain, and I think the best one is ridiculously expensive domain. Now, it can be registered either in primary or secondary market. If it's registered in primary market, then the create price is set via EPP. You just go to a registrar site and get it like any other domain name. If it's registered via secondary market or aftermarket, then you go to one of the aftermarket websites. The biggest ones are Sedo and Afternic, and you get it there. So it's the domain name that was registered by someone else, flipped by a domain name investor. But the thing is, this also grew. So Sedo reported 26% increase in premium sales compared to 2019. And if we took at our own numbers, the .me numbers at Sedo, they also grew. I mean, not the numbers, but in this case, the average price. So the average price go by 34% from $1,000 to 1,345. But what's also interesting is that the primary market for domain names, at least in .me, also grew, and it grew both in terms of volume and in terms of average price you pay for premium domain. So in terms of volume, there was 50% increase, and in terms of average price, there was 10% increase, which means that you were paying around 4,830 euros on average for .me Premium in 2019, and then in 2020, it was about 5,300 euros on average. Let me just zoom out a bit here so I can try to explain what happened here, what we did. We in 2020 in March, we took the entire portfolio of our premium domain names, about 2,800 of them, and we released them into registrar channel. So you can just go there and register premium domain name. And this proved to be a very good move because, as you can see, the average price increased by 10%, but also the volume increased by 50. So we allocated 41 domain in 2019, but in 2020, we allocated 63, I think. So, and these are not like amazingly great numbers, but it's also very important to know who registered these .me premium domain names. And these are the companies that got them. Turner Broadcasting Systems, they got Cartoon.me. British Petroleum, they got BP.me. Koch Industries, Koch.me. 3M.me. So when you have these multi-billion-dollar companies getting your extension, it's either one of the two things. Either they believe your extension is trustworthy and established enough, so they get the defensive trademark registration, or they are about to develop a new product and they believe that what your extension represents is a very good fit. So either way, this is an indication that you're doing something as it should be done. And then last but not the least, let's just move to predictions. Let's just try to sort of summarize what we talked about and make some predictions about the rest of the year and hopefully 2022. So domain growth. I believe the domain growth will continue, first of all, because this accelerated digitalization process still hasn't come to an end. Brick and mortar still needs to go online. But that's not the only thing why I think the growth will continue. It will continue because macro businesses are disintegrating. I mean, not all of them, but there is a trend into micro businesses. And these micro businesses will need domain and website to go online. And then at the same time, when there is uncertainty, people look for different revenue streams. One of the things you can do is to turn your hobby into business. And for this, you also need domain name and website. So the growth will continue. However, not all TLDs will grow. I think that legacy TLDs that are established will grow at a steady rate. Repurpose CC-TLDs like .me, which stands for personal, .ai, which stands for artificial intelligence, then .co.io, will grow at a slightly faster pace, in my opinion. And then maybe CC-TLDs in Europe will go at a steady pace as well, but CC-TLDs in China, which is out of pandemic, or in India, which is still waiting for this accelerated digitalization, may grow faster. What I think will remain to be volatile are new GTLDs. And of course, it depends on their strategy. What will happen remains to be seen, but some good indicators of new GTLD growth will be their ability to control abuse and contribute to the premium content or dedicated developed content on their websites. That's how you can actually see whether TLD is worth registering over the investment. And then mergers and acquisitions. I believe that consolidation will likely continue, and it's simply because companies that did well in 2020 increased their revenue, they have more money to shop around. So this is something that may continue. New services will be introduced. I think that in this market, domain name and hosting market, new services will be introduced because when you have consolidation, these companies start to care less about, or not to start to care less about the competition, and then at the same time they're saving on energy, office space, and stuff, so they have more time to commit to what is truly important. That's new product development. And I'm hoping that these new services will be around domain name security. Now it remains to be seen whether they be rolled out by the registries or the registrars, but when the demand grows, the abuse grows as well. And I think the new age will definitely need to come up with the services that would limit the abuse.
We have 4 minutes remaining.
And then prices may increase. Again, this is something that ties into what we talked about before. Whenever there's consolidation, a sort of monopoly-like environment is created. And in this monopoly-like environment, prices become more elastic, and it's easier to sort of increase them. And then predictions about premium domain names. I think the growth will continue, and I think that's obvious for more than a few reasons. The first reason is ripple effect. If we have growth in primary market, there will be growth in secondary market as well. But also in times of uncertainty, people are looking for digital assets. And we can see that, for instance, in cryptocurrencies. I mean, cryptocurrencies are on the rise, but also premium domain names are digital assets. So people might want to go there with their capital. And then again, as I mentioned before, China, which is a huge market, is out of pandemic, almost out of pandemic. So maybe Chinese domain investors will look for premium domain names as well. The growth of the average price of premium domains will flatten. This basically means that while the demand for premium domains will grow and there might be more domains registered on average, the average price will drop. And I think it will drop because the prices that we have at the moment are created by Corona bubble, and they're simply not sustainable in the long term. And another thing that shows that this price will flatten is the CDO's report, where they actually analyze this on .com price, on .com curve, and it shows that it's flattening. And then last but not the least, we may see new services for domain investors. And I think that market matured enough for this. I think that these new services might be fractional ownership of premium domain name registrations, or lease to purchase options for premium domain names that already exist in one way or another. And these are basically the predictions. But the thing that I would like to leave you with is the statement. I think that 2020 put an end to the discussions of whether social media and social media-like services would substitute domain names when it comes to establishing your online presence. I think this will definitely not happen, that these services, that domain names will remain the bedrock of internet infrastructure, and that social media will remain a great and nowadays even necessary complement. So with domain names, you continue to be your own engineer out there. These are the sources I used to put together this presentation. I hope it was interesting, and I hope there will be questions. I'll check them right away. And these are my contact details for Q&A in case we don't get to the questions. And that was about it. Hope you enjoyed. Let me go back. Let me go back and see if there are any questions here. I need to go back to the platform. Just a second. Okay. Q&A. Okay, I don't see any questions yet. And okay, I see. Okay, and I think I'm out of time. Am I out of time? Okay, so in case I'm out of time, I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation.